Hey there and welcome back to my channel, Curious Binky. So I am back today. I actually just got back from Texas and I have a bunch of videos coming out on that along with Finland and Iceland. I am so far behind. I am like 4 to 5 different countries and states behind. I apologize. I have so much material, no time, but I'm going to be getting that up here soon. So I just want to say my first impressions. I had my first impressions of Austin. I want to talk about my first impressions of San Antonio, and I'll be putting some videos throughout here so you can see some of the highlights so you're not just staring at my boring face. But San Antonio, you know, when I went to Texas, it's a huge state, and so I know that you can't basically judge a whole state based off of a couple cities, and Austin is extremely different than, let's say, San Antonio. And going to San Antonio, I have to say I really liked it. This was, you know, in April, early April, and well, early April heading into mid-April. I was there for a while, and it was warm. It got up into the 90s, so that was insane because in New York City it was still in the 40s and 50s. So that was a lot of fun. But actually, I love the heat, so I was like, yeah. But San Antonio, my impressions of San Antonio, let me tell you, what I love about it is everybody goes there, of course, because the Alamo. And Alamo is kind of the place where Texas was born in a lot of ways. You know, there were some fights between different groups, especially with the Mexicans. Now, there's a history behind that, and you can look at it both ways, and so I'm not going to get into that because everybody has their own opinions. But regardless of your viewpoints, it comes down to that Texas, in a lot of ways, was birthed because of the Alamo in many ways. And so it is a big historical part of San Antonio. Here's the thing with the Alamo. You have to go, and it is free, but just know that the parking is going to be expensive, so it's not free. Yeah, the parking went between $12 and $20 depending on where you parked. So it may be best to park further and walk if you want to save a dime, or if it's really hot like it was the day I was there and you're with a friend, go ahead, split it. That's what we did. We went to a $12 parking lot, $6 a piece. Who cares, you know? So that's what we ended up doing, and it's kind of in a nice area too, with some nice buildings, and there's some history around those buildings, so, or around the Alamo. So check out some of the buildings and do some research first. But the Alamo is kind of nice because it's a very beautiful area outside. You can go inside the Alamo, but inside it is darker, and a lot of places will do that because they don't. Sometimes the lights can destroy the structure over time, so they like to keep it the environment very stable, and that's what it's like when you walk into the Alamo. When you first enter, they do the count thing, so it takes a little bit to get in, and they do make you take those pictures of you in front of the Alamo going, yeah, I'm not big into those, actually. I didn't show up for the cheesy photo, but some people really love it, and it's a nice keepsake, so I'm not calling you cheesy if you do it. It's just, it's not my style. So you kind of have to do it. We did. We did not end up buying it. Well, I was okay with it, but my friend was like, no, I look like hell. I'm not doing this. So now our photo is in the dumps somewhere. Yeah, but that's all right. So we bypassed that. But once you enter the Alamo, just know that you cannot take photos or video, so you're going to have to keep it up here. I have to say, I actually enjoyed going outside the Alamo more. The structure itself wasn't that exciting, and because it wasn't very hands-on in many ways, and I understand why, it was a little bit of a letdown for me, but it was nice walking around the grounds, and they have this nice seated area with drinks. There's drinks and like vending machines and stuff where you could sit and you can watch history of the Alamo, and it's a really well put together video, and it actually explained why you're there if you don't do your research ahead of time. So I have to say, that was really enjoyable, actually. And also walking the grounds. They also, when I went, had an exhibit on Bowie, who is the one who created the Bowie knife, or Bowie knife. I always said Bowie, but I guess it's Bowie. So that actually was more of a highlight than the actual Alamo, was the history of where the knife came from, and that thing was brutal. That is a bad way to go. And I was just reading the history going, oh my God. And then you can touch the screens of the glass with the knives, and it tells you this history. It's really cool, actually, so it's definitely worth checking out. So the Alamo wasn't necessarily the biggest highlight for me, but you have to do it, especially, if you're big into history, American history, go check it out. I will say if you want something a little bit more hands-on and with less security, not that you're doing anything wrong, but I mean where you can be a little bit more free in your movements, go to the missions. There are some missions that are known in San Antonio, and basically what it was that the indigenous people, because of the people coming in from Europe from the north, they were bringing smallpox and other diseases that the indigenous people of the area were not used to. So unfortunately, they all began to get sick and many died. So what they did was that they would pray to their gods, because they all had different gods and different ways of praising that god. And they started praying to these gods to help them. And it's just good timing. The Spanish showed up. Well, good or bad timing, depending. So the Spanish basically came in, the missionaries, and tried to tame the indigenous people and brought Catholicism. And regardless of your viewpoint on it, I have my own opinion. I wish the indigenous people had kept doing what they do, but we know throughout history, unfortunately, that isn't always the case. They did become Catholic, though they kept doing their own stuff in secret, so thumbs up to you guys. Take that, Spanish. But yeah, so they built these missions, they ended up getting new trades, and that's kind of the history of the missions. And what's beautiful is that's where these people lived. And you can walk through these, and they're very well kept up, and it's just very beautiful and peaceful. And you can walk through these old missions, and you can sit on benches, and you can see the old Spanish motifs on the side, because they use a lot of the blue and the yellow colors on the outside. They've been worn away, but you can see in parts where it's still there. The chapel is in beautiful condition. I wonder, I think they do use it on Sundays still, and it's beautiful. It was so hot that day, but then when you walk through the chapel, this beautiful breeze just hit you. And it was really, it was a really nice moment, actually. And I lit a candle for someone, and I continued, and it was absolutely beautiful. Whether you're religious or not, honestly, I loved the missions. Absolutely beautiful. If I lived in San Antonio, I would go there every couple weeks and just kind of go there to think life and meditate. Getting all deep. That's right, Binky. So, love the missions. You cannot avoid the Mexican food when you're San Antonio, and if you do, it's a crime, because the Tex-Mex is there. There's a huge Mexican influence in San Antonio, and I miss that about the West Coast, because I'm originally from the West Coast. I miss the Mexican influence. Wonderful. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the food. Actually, the Mexican culture is very dear to my heart for personal reasons, and I love it. The food was fantastic. In New York City, you cannot find good Mexican food. You can in San Antonio. It's delicious. They also have an area that's known as the biggest Mexican market in North America. So you might want to go check that out too. I did go one day. Just know some places will give you a better deal if you have cash. Little FYI, if you use a card, you won't. But some people, if you offer cash, they will give you a discount. So just be wary. Some shops will do that. It was interesting. I thought it was kind of going to be like a bazaar, like in Turkey. When I went to Turkey's bazaar, they have all kinds of spices and foods and lamps and carpets and things. It's not like that, and that's kind of what I was expecting. It actually is mostly goods from Mexico, like statues, clothing, household things, jewelry, shoes, not even really shoes that much, but things like that. I was expecting to be more like hot sauces and spices and things from Mexico, like vanilla. They did have vanilla, but it turned out being extract. So it wasn't even the real product. So I was a little let down by that market. I also felt like a lot of the people didn't want to be there because they're there every day. They're probably tired of all the tourists coming in, and they hate dealing with it all the time. I don't blame them. I live in New York City. I deal with the tourists. But I can understand it, but sometimes it was hard to get the customer service, or it just, I don't know. I know, it wasn't the experience I was expecting, I guess. But it still is definitely worth it. What made it awesome is that there's food around the place, and it is a little expensive. I gotta be honest, there's a Mexican food place that's in that courtyard, and the guy out front, who was the owner, was extremely rude to people. So I'd kind of give that a thumbs down. So I did not go there because I saw a couple things that I did not find appropriate. So what I will say is there's big thumbs up. If you go down the way, you will find it towards one of the streets. There is this wonderful dessert shop, Mexican dessert shop. It was so freaking good. We didn't know what we wanted, and I know Mexican desserts, but I was like, what do I want? It was a hot day, and they suggested this mango with chili powder in it. It sounds terrible. It is fantastic. She let us try it first, and I was like, this is what I want. And then they give you a straw with like a chili, like fruit roll-up on it. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so delicious. And then I set it down and a bee went into it. It was so delicious the bee took it from me. And so then I had to finish at that point. But I was almost done anyway. But it was fantastic. Find that dessert shop. Tons of locals. They, you know, their customer service was awesome to everyone. I recommend it. So where the one restaurant was a disappointment, which I did not go into, the other place was amazing. Please go check it out. Really reasonable prices and delicious desserts. So cool. One of the reasons why I miss the West Coast. Other things to see in San Antonio. You have to go to the church. I will put that on the side of or above me of what it is called. I apologize. It's this church that at night at 9:30 and 10, they play the history of Texas on the side of the church. And it is really cool and really well done. Now, I thought it was only going to be 10 minutes. It was a good like 15, 20 minutes. So you are going to stand, and there are a few seats, but not many. The first showing is really crowded because everybody goes for that. So if I have advice for you, do not go for the first showing. Go for the 10 o'clock if you can, because there's going to be fewer people and it's going to be easier to see it. I wish I made that mistake, and I realized pass on the knowledge to others, go to the 9:30 or 10 show. But it's fantastic. You get to see the history, and there's music, and it's really loud and just vibrant. I have to say, I love San Antonio. I love the fact that I got to use a little bit of my Spanish, though everybody speaks English, but there are some times where you do use Spanish and it's beneficial, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I could see myself living there. I really could see myself living there. It has this cool kind of fresh vibe, but I can also see where it also has kind of an arty vibe. And that's what I'm kind of looking for. I don't know. I mean, maybe I wasn't there long enough, but I just found the people to be really friendly. The food was delicious. The river walk was fantastic. It was just really nice. Parts of it are really touristy, and then other parts are just really nice. It's really kept up well. I felt really safe walking through, but I live in New York City, so I know what I'm doing. But I just felt like it was very safe and clean. I loved San Antonio. It really was one of the highlights of my travels recently. I could see myself living there. I really, really could. And so I kind of want to go back and just see, more about it. Maybe stay for a week and see how I really feel about it, because, I love New York City, but I don't want to be here forever necessarily. And San Antonio is fantastic, but it gets really hot. It was 90 degrees in early April, people. 90 degrees. Crazy. I got burned. I mean, but look at me. I'm like ridiculously pale, and I had sunblock on me, and it was the missions, but it was worth it. So San Antonio, big thumbs up. Look for my videos on San Antonio coming up. I can't wait to share them with you because it really was a wonderful time in Texas. So there you go. So until next time, have a fabulous day.